Welcome to the Evolution Magazine's Home Grow series. It is July 9th, 2020, and our live show will begin at 7 p.m. All music used in tonight's pre-reel and show are done with permission from the composing artists, but we do not own the rights to this music. And now, a word from our sponsors. Operation of tonight's broadcast is provided by KC Weedblog. Hi, I'm James with KC Weedblog, and I've been an audio engineer and DJ for close to 20 years. Cannabis content creation is what I'm here for. If you need a live broadcast, media creation, event production, booking performers, or a host personality, man, I'm that guy. We have lots of AV gear, lights, sounds, video for store openings, brand launches, company parties, and many other types of events as well. Follow us on social at KC Weedblog or email me personally, james@kcweedblog.com. Now stay lifted and enjoy tonight's show. Tonight's video is provided by Cat King Films. Check this out. Cat King Films is offering promotional content, commercials, training videos, wedding videos, and documentary-style video production at an affordable price. A free consultation comes with every project to ensure that it is personalized to your brand. Check out previous projects by exploring the different sections on the newly launched website at catkingfilms.com.
The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association is a proud sponsor of the Grow at Home series by Evolution Magazine. Hi, my name is Eric McSwain. I'm the chairman of the board for MCIA. We're striving to encourage the largest, most robust cannabis industry that we can realize in Missouri and believe that this industry should be of Missourians and for Missourians. The industry we envision would allow for a diverse variety of locally owned businesses to facilitate access to quality medicine at affordable prices. MCIA recognizes the value of the patients and caregivers that truly make up the core of the industry and would like to see you add your voice to our cause by becoming a member. Check out mocia.org for more information on membership, rates, benefits, and discounts. Stay tuned for our presentation later this month regarding the launch of our Certified Caregiver Program and our discussion of key legal concepts that affect you. We'll have this discussion with Parkini Law and hope to see you there.
Parkini Law is your leader in emerging legal, corporate, and tax strategies. Parkini Law has partnered with Parkini CPA to offer you a full-service legal practice with accounting support. They are here to help you grow. To protect your safety, the firm is completely virtual, meaning you never have to leave the comfort of your home or office. They do it all, from tax strategy to litigation. The firm is your local Missouri leader in emerging practice areas and industries. Call 816-600-1005 or visit parkinilaw.com to schedule your free consultation today. Thank you, stay safe, and keep growing.
Taproot Agriculture is your answer for everything hemp. We bring years of experience in the hemp industry to help you from seed to sale and everything in between. We provide consulting, equipment rental, farming supplies, organic certification, and certified Missouri Department of Agriculture hemp sample testing. We have you covered with seeds, clones, and propagules to help you flourish in your hemp grow, whether it's for an indoor, outdoor, or greenhouse cultivation. Taproot Agriculture, providing the stability with knowledge and experience to help you grow your own roots in the hemp industry.
Mo Green Card is a Missouri-owned and operated medical cannabis clinic specializing in telehealth, where patients enjoy the comfort of their own home or office for video appointments with their highly qualified physician. Evaluations start at $115, and they provide additional application services to all patients, not just their own, and they work with patients of all ages. You must be a valid Missouri resident with one or more qualifying conditions, no medical records required, but they will need your medical history and diagnosing physician's name for mental health qualifications. Visit online at mogreencard.com, like on Facebook, follow on Twitter at mogreencard, and give them a call at 855-696-5022. Their friendly team is available from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Our giveaways this week include two $50 gift cards to Happy Rock Farms. In order to win, tag a friend in the comments section during the show and add the word GROW, and you will both be entered to win. We also have a free medical marijuana certification from Mo Green Card. So tag a friend who doesn't have their MMJ certification and add the word cert or certification for a chance to win, and encourage all of your friends who qualify to make sure they get legal. Thank you, Happy Rock Farms, and thank you, Mo Green Card. In just a few short minutes, we'll be meeting John Bolsenga of Taproot Agriculture, educating us on the Missouri hemp industry. So stay tuned, and our show will begin shortly. Please take a moment to acknowledge our network affiliates and streaming affiliates across the state of Missouri. The Home Grow series is made possible by the cooperation of many groups coming together to provide an educational platform for the community. We'd like to thank all our affiliates and sponsors, and we'll feature different groups each week. Thanks for watching and for getting involved with your Grow community. Please take some time to check out all the music artists and bands who have given us permission to use their music as part of our broadcast, both previously and in future shows. Music has always been a large part of the cannabis community, and that's not changing anytime. Cannabis and music, it's like peanut butter and jelly, man. Check them out. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Home Grow series. I'm James from KC Weedblog. Hey, what a night already. We've had the mayor come on and sign the ordinance. That was awesome. Huge. Thanks to Clay Evolution, Cat King Films. Thanks to Parkini Law. Mark was here. We appreciate Tim from Extracts. And we've got some giveaways. Obviously, tonight we're doing two $50 gift cards to Happy Rock Farms Hydro Store. To enter, tag as many friends in the comments as you would like with the word GROW for both of you to enter the competition. I should know this already. If you have a friend or family member who does not have their MMJ cert, tag them in the comments with the name cert to enter for a free MMJ certification from Mo Green Cards. So I'm going to turn this over now to John Bolsenga and Tim Lawrence. And then we're going to talk about hemp, and this is Hemp 101. So, gentlemen, here you go. Take it away.
Thanks, James, so much. It has been a really historic evening. I'm glad that you're with us, John, tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to review some of what's happened tonight. It's been a lot of excitement. Clayton Stallings was on with Mayor Quentin Lucas as he signed the ordinance that he introduced in June. And I got to tell you, amazing. It really spoke to all the citizens, all Missourians, that this is really getting underway. It speaks volumes. It speaks for Mayor Lucas and his actions that he has really put in. And so much hard work that they put into this is now paid off. I do want to recognize some people that and groups and organizations that we didn't get a chance to first. But again, hello everyone, and welcome to the Evolution Magazine's Home Grow series. This is episode 13. We had a special edition a little bit earlier on. If you didn't get a chance to see us live with the mayor, please do. You'll have a chance to review that again, as that will be offered out there for a replay. Again, my name is Tim Lawrence, co-owner of Extracts High Performance Botanicals in North Kansas City, Missouri. And a big thank you to Happy Rock Farms here, located at 3816 Main Street in Midtown KCMO. They provide the space. Stop in, talk with the guys, Chris, Darren, Jason, about starting or improving your home grow. These guys are really knowledgeable. They know quite a bit. So our guest tonight, John Bolsenga of Taproot Ag. Welcome to the show, John. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Great. And before we get into the conversation with John, I want to again recognize some of the individuals and groups that spoke to really what the mayor was speaking about tonight. His ordinance, the cannabis measure that was filed to reveal the provisions of the code ordinances stipulating maximum fines, fees, legal action that could be taken, punishable by incarceration, things of this nature. That has completely been done away with now. There are some stipulations in terms of distribution weight, things of that nature. Always, Mark Parchini was on with his representing his law firm, Parchini Law. He gave us some great information, some guidelines to follow. So we're so pleased that he was on. Again, you can review that replay for more detailed information. So I'm going to be quoting the mayor in a few of the things that he had to say when he was speaking with Clayton Stallings of Evolution Magazine. But for the groups and some of the individuals that they are, again, I think really on board and synonymous in following what Mayor Lucas has said, the equality, the inequality, really, and the groups that I'm about to announce and speak a little bit about, they are for gender equality, minorities, veterans, those young and old that really are affected by the laws in this city. And one of the groups at the beginning, I inaccurately called Donna, the Donnas as it now is lovingly referred to as, Heidi Trout and April Hatch, RN, of the Cannabis Care team. They provide qualifying patients with the education, support, and advocacy they need to experience the medical benefits of cannabis and consume it safely. Some of their products here on the table. They've got a journal. They're educating before medication. That is hemp paper that you see there on the card and the actual journal cover, the jacket. This has got some great information as you go through. And it's this Cannabis Care team and how they go about with that journal. It's just really amazing. I like what they do, and so glad to correct that information that I mistakenly put out there the first time that I introduced them. So definitely reach out to them if you qualify, and they'll be happy to talk with you. Brian Elias, I've known Brian for more than a decade, and his foundation, newly created, the No Jaded Project, a nonprofit in Missouri, will be offering curriculum on seeing the world through the lens of others. Very important, again, in reflection of what Mayor Lucas continually speaks about and says, for disproportionate for young black men and women. This organization that Brian puts together brings more of everyone together, and they'll work with security, law enforcement, individuals, organizations that work with the general public, and that's what we need. We need more education. We need more instruction. Moving on, Jonathan Lewis of Mogro Solutions and the Evolution Magazine assisting in the People's Family and their daughter Aria, is that right, Clayton? Did I say that right? Araya. To see that she gets the medicine that she needs. An amazing work and effort that went into that, and I do know that that's a series that is coming up that's been that we've seen a little bit of. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Todd Scatini, CEO of Harvest 360, advocating for veterans and minorities on the use of cannabis as it affects it's an effective medicine for the people who really need it most. Todd is an amazing guy, right? Yeah. He's really a juggernaut in the space, and I'm so appreciative of what he does. He was one of really gave me an amazing background in what he does, how he advocates, and how he's working every day.
Tenacious.
Yeah, he's amazing. So we thank him. Combat veteran, and again, I hope I say this right, Chris Wolfenbarger of Veterans for Patient Access, helping to fund veterans' access to medical marijuana recommendations in Missouri. Great organization. And last but not least, Elevate Holistics, a HIPAA-compliant platform for patient medical certifications. They've got an end-to-end encryption solution for those who are privacy-minded. They are working on a program for no-cost certifications and some other great things that they are doing. So we're just so happy to work with some of these individuals and these groups and moving this forward and really getting this medication into people's hands that need it. Going to review really quickly. I know that you were there.
Exciting start. I don't know how to follow up to this.
It is a tough follow-up. It's a tough follow-up. The ordinance that the mayor had introduced in June of this year to remove marijuana from the city code has passed.
That's awesome.
It is great. And I'm taking from just what I remember from him saying and trying to write down the quotes. Getting rid of the law. Just that's how you make a real step forward. He signed the ordinance live while we were on the air. As always, Mayor Lucas speaking from the heart, and no longer and instructing the law enforcement to no longer prosecute for these small amounts. His next big fight is engagement with Missouri and the rollout of the medical marijuana licensing for DHSS. To quote the mayor, the rollout has been a disaster, and that speaks volumes. I think that anybody that's on or with that program that has had been denied for that program, I believe that no minority group organization was given a license. They were not awarded a license. So I really look forward to what programs that he puts in place and to move that forward. And so let's get into tonight with our guest, John Bolsenga. And I got to tell you, I first met John, I think a phone call is what we had introduced, and we're speaking the same language on a lot of the things that we love about this plant. One of the biggest misconceptions on that, and we're going to get to that, is what's the big difference between hemp and cannabis? It's not really a different plant. It's the same plant. We're really going to get into that. There are some details in that. But introduction of John Bolsenga and Taproot Agriculture. Local Missouri boy who's got a history with cannabis, experience. Doing this season, really exciting stuff that you have going on. So if you can elaborate on some of that, and we'll get into it.
So the background, grew up in Kansas City. This is my stomping ground. Graduated from Liberty High School, and I happen to be right back in Liberty doing business.
Great.
So after this long stint of broker in the cannabis industry for some years, and then moving into hemp in 2016 roughly is when we started Elevated Hemp. Started that out in Denver, and that was right after the Farm Bill came out, and there was a lot of movement in Colorado that was shifting from the medical growers into the outdoor hemp scene. So that led us into doing successful farming outdoor, basically taking the marijuana crop, the grow methods, and taking it outdoor. We'll talk later about how many plants per acre in that, but taking this Missouri farm experience to Colorado, working with cannabis, and then changing that mindset with some of the Western Slope farmers. 2018 started doing some research on what's going to happen with the new Farm Bill, and coming to Kansas City, listening to some people talk. I spoke previous to Vote Yes on 2. Everybody was focused on their medical cannabis, and I started doing my homework and building Taproot Ag. Basically, mirror image of Elevated Hemp, except as you talked about, we've expanded.
Yeah.
Elevated Hemp was a consulting company I brokered product. I got some product here, some people that I worked with in Colorado. So the farm to table was the biggest approach. And so knowing these people personally, knowing their stories, knowing how they manufacture, knowing what they're looking for their end product, and then moving our farm practices towards the end product. That's one of my spiels that I give, is knowing beginning with the end in mind. Know what you're getting into long before you put this plant in the ground. So Taproot Ag expanded, and equipment rentals and consulting still. We'll be moving into a finished product most likely this fall when we get into our first harvest.
So exciting.
And then I met you, or I heard you speak at one of the Hemp Trade Association meetings. And there's certain terminologies that we use in the cannabis industry that everyone recognizes, whether you're a grower or a producer. And there's only certain things that are said, it seems like, in this scene that catch your attention, or that are new, or that are exciting. And when you started talking about nanotechnology and getting into some of these water-soluble, short-term products, like, I got to meet this guy. We've got to talk. We've got more things we got to talk about.
Absolutely.
So just aligning yourselves. I talk about strategic alignments, getting yourself aligned with the right people like Todd Scatini, Tim Lawrence, Happy Rock Farms. Again, thank you, Happy Rock. We do a lot of business with Happy Rock, and I appreciate this friendship that's developed down here.
Yeah, and I don't want to underplay Chris Dalton's involvement here from Happy Rock Farms. He is he's in the background. Chris, your title with the organization that you have helped push along the initiatives. You've been pivotal for this. I'm going to have him shout out from the back.
Thank you.
So, and it was for what was the organization that you're have an official title with?
I'm Vice President of the Missouri Cannabis Industry Association.
Vice President of the Missouri Cannabis Association.
And that's where we met.
Yeah.
I met Chris when I first started traveling back to Missouri, looking into the hemp laws, or into farming, and went to an MCIA event.
Yep.
Was invited by Dan Vietz to one of those events. And I was the only hemp guy. Everybody else was cannabis. So I just kind of clung with guys like Chris, and we'd show up to a networking event, like, hey, I know that guy. I hang out with that guy. We start talking politics and what's going on in Missouri, and oh wow, this guy's a hippie with a brain. Let's see what he does.
Big part of it.
Let's
really,
just see what he does.
Really push it forward. I want to go back to some of the products before we get into it. That Kat was that give us a good look at. These are the finished products. These are the raw materials. So when we speak about finished products to the retail front, these are what those products are in the end. This is what it starts from. The only thing we're missing here is hemp flower.
Correct.
But again, the bud of the plant. But the stalk.
Why didn't I bring a plant?
That's okay.
Why didn't I bring a plant?
That's all right. That's all right.
Why didn't I bring a plant?
Well, actually, we do have. We will have some of your product as it moves down.
We'll have pictures hopefully of this show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is how it kind of starts. So, right, stalk and stem, some of the fiber, the root system of the plant, and it's again just the process that we go through. I do want to point out, as you spoke about water soluble products, and the relationships that we establish, the network that we have here regionally. Everybody kind of plays a part, and we lean on each other for certain things that we don't have. It's all about those relationships, starting with the growers, and it's really their job is so incredibly difficult. I will say difficult, or maybe just involved. You're at Mother Nature's will. You are trying to race the clock. You want the best yield for your plants, and there are certain things that happen during a grow season. But again, in products, I do want to mention in the water solubility products, Lucky Elixir over in North Kansas City. This is the product. This is one of our end products that we derive from the plant, from growers like yourself. And then we take that cannabinoid, CBD, cannabidiol, and we turn it into a water solubility, and that's what goes into the end products. This is the tap room series that they have currently. The official release of the full jacketed can is going to be out very soon. But again, you're watching, as you said, progressiveness. 10 milligrams used to be the entry level on this. And that's been smashed. Really, it's 25 milligrams. We have proof of concepts for a 12-ounce can that are 50, 150 to 250 milligrams.
Well, even this is an old label. They have a new label, new product quantity, I think, or amount per capsule. But 42 was a big number when this came out in 2018. Good friends of mine, Salt Creek Hemp. Flora, Chris Benosian, she's a very, very smart lady, develops her own product. This again is Salt Creek, some of their deodorant, and then some of Flora's tea. She has a tea that she formulates. So these were people that I'd met through this type of networking and understood their products, and really they gave me a very good knowledge of how the grower needs to perceive the end product and how important it is that we're growing what I call a pharmaceutical compound. You know, I'm not so much in the game of growing grass or growing green weed. I'm into the pharmaceutical side of it, the CBD, CBG, you know, whatever our compounds that we're looking to put into the product.
Yeah, the cannabinoids from the plant. And the one of the important things that, and we, you know, I've discussed this at length, it is getting the normalization of the use for the cannabinoid so that we understand that it's not just because the entry level started at such a low dose to think that 250 milligrams 3 times a day, that's really a moderate use to be real direct about it. And this is what's going to help our farmers that are out there toiling over these plants to actually, for their yield, we've seen a dip in the market and the price. But as products continue to evolve, as the milligram dosage goes up, we're going to need those farmers to provide us with enough flour to be able to produce the demand for the products.
Good flour.
Yeah, enough good flour. That's a good point.
You can grow. I mean, everybody argues with me.
Best practices.
You can grow hemp anywhere. It's a weed. You can just throw it out and it'll grow. But there's best practices.
The weed part, I think, is the resiliency. I think we want to really kind of to take that terminology out of it. Weed is not seen as like a derogatory term. It is just a resilient plant, and thus the weed of it kind of couldn't grow anywhere. Yes, you can throw seeds out in the ground and it will grow up, but taking care of it.
This actually out of Clay County. That was just a plant that was found, Riverside. Happened to pull it down and take the stalk and save it for future reference.
So much that can be done in a textile. Yeah, absolutely.
Just in a textile format.
A lot of people want to know what the difference is between cannabis and hemp, and really both cannabis and hemp, it's kind of their morphology. It's the chemical makeup and the uses. It also has to do with the percentage right now is defined by the law, 0.3% THC. That's what qualifies the same plant, really.
Right.
It's the same plant, looks the same, smells the same. It's just a lower percentage of a cannabinoid in that plant. So really on the industrial hemp side, your 4 products that are hemp flour, that flour that you're really wanting to extract all of the good cannabinoids, all the maximum terps, everything out of the plant that you can, you're pushing the plant to show cannabinoids like CBG and CBD, which are the primary 2 cannabinoids that are plants that are rich in those cannabinoids. But you're trying to keep it down under that 0.3%. That's a real chore to be able to do that. I think that with an initiative to raise that to 1% is going to be something that's very important. I hope Mayor Lucas will hear us in that heed that call. 1%, 1%, 1%. We'll work with him in any way possible to make that happen.
You can actually go to Vote Hemp, and they've actually started that push politically to the 1% level. We need to see it on a federal level to 1%.
Absolutely, I agree. So, and that will give us a little bit more breathing room to really get the plant to yield much better, a better showing of the cannabinoids that we're looking for.
I've seen a lot of destroyed fields at 0.4 to 0.6%.
Yeah,
perfectly good plants just hit 0.4 and had to destroy.
Really, really tough. Hemp. Again, it's not completely absent of the intoxicating compounds, but it's almost trace at that amount for THC. So just so you know, it looks the same, it smells the same. You can smoke an industrial hemp; they're smokable, and you're going to get the effects of the cannabinoid that's the primary cannabinoid. Really, the effects that you would get from THC, it's it's going to be there in such a trace amount, but you're not going to get the psychoactive effect of being high, right? That's really not it. Now you'll get the benefits.
People feel good.
They feel good.
And they get that giddy feeling because they feel good. They can't believe that they're not high, but they actually feel good from that joint or that method that they inhaled.
Absolutely, and that's one of the products would be smokable hemp. The flower itself, being able to smoke it, refine it into other products, and be able to use that as part of your.
It's quick into the bloodstream, the quickest into the system. Most of these have to be digested. So yeah, it's a quick delivery method.
Absolutely. Outside of that, hemp can be grown for different reasons. One of the ways to do that is technologies that they were capable of. Growers focusing on producing nutrient-rich seeds. That's one of the people grow for seeds, and so they'll have a field full of females, which is what's going to get pollinated by the male. They'll seed a few males out there, and then that's where their seed production will come from. They'll go to harvest. They'll strip it from the stalk and the stem, and then you're going to run it through a process, remove all the seeds out of it. What's left is a particulate matter that is in the industry is known as biomass. So even ourselves are guilty of mixing the two terms, hemp flower and biomass.
Right.
Hemp flower is the flower that's being separated from stalk and stem. That is the product that we purchase, we split, we toll process that. It's we use ethanol and we wash the plant basically. But if you think about it in a closed vessel where you're putting that flour into it, if the flour is such a fine particulate matter, it really just gums it up and starts to make a mud puddle. Supercritical CO2 is something as an extraction method that's pressure, and it uses that to then extract all the goodies, all the oil. It's amazing if our friends over in Fort Collins, Kinja, Jen Monshine over there, they're great. She's director of sales. She's taken us through some tours. And as you put your hand down into the, after the process is run, the particulate matter, it's so dry. And it's just a feeling of taking everything that is an oil or any moisture is completely out of it. It's a really interesting feel to it. But that is what that biomass is suited for. Now, some of the other uses for biomass, hempcrete or hemp lime. It's a biocomposite material, a mixture of hemp herds, shives, lime and sand, which is used material for construction and insulation.
And in this, you could probably see some of the herd inside. That's why I split this. That white woody core. You've got the woody core and then the bast and the fiber on the outside. So just to see the differences in that plant.
Absolutely.
Good visual.
So many uses for the plant and so many ways to extract.
And I call that a 3-part plant. It's because that is a really good plant to grow. It's just not as popular right now because of the extraction or you have to decorticate this stick, which gets it down, busted up this way to get the herd out.
Explain the decortication.
Okay, so decorticating is basically chopping at this stick, but without cutting all the way through it. So it's just hitting the stick and breaking this woody core. And so once the woody core is broken, you can feed it into whatever sections you want. You can break that woody core out, and then what comes out is this stick still attached by the fiber. And then that can be stripped and pulled out separately. There's plenty of videos on YouTube if you search decorticator. But that's the process. And there are companies I know in Missouri that are working that direction. But as far as my business right now, it's not really the focus for the business model. But there's a lot of possibilities.
There is
a lot more possibilities than just what we're doing. Plant.
And we're going to get into where you are in this season and who you're helping and who's working with you on a consulting level, the farms that you're manicuring, taking care of. And before we get into that, I did want to, I wanted to go over some about the regulations, where the money is. We've discussed a little bit about that when we were on the show earlier, after Mayor Lucas had spoke. But really, the the things that really propel all this, Farm Bill in 2014, federally in that Farm Bill, which loosened some of the regulations to be able to actually go back to where we
to get
started
a little
with.
university research going. There were a couple of licensed companies in Missouri on the St. Louis side, so it was very limited up till 2018, and then 2018 opened that up.
Absolutely, the Federal Farm Bill 2018. Now Missouri Department of Agriculture permitting processing, seed, licensing, producer licenses.
Missouri had a pilot program we didn't really like, so had to amend that to actually get that to help the farmer more or less.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
And then as we move along, it's helped so that now, really, the definition of a grower, somebody who's a cultivator, it, in my opinion, is really a large gardening project. Is what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
It's more than just putting plants into the grounds, watering them and watching them go. It takes a lot of time and energy, focus, planning. Speak about some of the organizations, the farmers that you're working with right now. What role you provide for them, and
yeah.
how
So what we're doing mostly right now are a lot of joint ventures. We have indoor grows and outdoor going on all at the same time right now. So as soon as the permits opened up, I wanted to be one of the first 10. I actually got permit 14. So we've worked really hard to try to hurry up and get to the race and get ready. Joint ventured with a team, Rolling Hill Oils out of Dearborn. Dearborn had their own property, and then we together rented a property in Weston. We have a seed and propagule station in Weston where we sell our starts. We have a drying facility out there where we can actually have an indoor barn to dry your product if you're within the area. There's equipment on site that we can rent. It's an existing tobacco farm, so there's tobacco transplanting equipment, harvesting equipment. It's very parallel to what we're doing in hemp, so it works out really well. So Rolling Hills Oils has their 2.4 acres outdoor. We have 1 acre of test bed in Weston, and then I have another joint venture up in Stanberry that is really close to MU Ag Research. So that works really good together, having both of those. Happened to get a connection with MU Ag Research, so we're doing some research with them for a 3-part plant, like we talked about, as well as some autoflower, some projects we're working on for next year.
Tell us about autoflower. Every time the term gets popped out, I know a number of people, and I'm sure our viewers want to know, what is autoflower?
I'm excited about it. I'm new to it. I've been around cannabis almost all my life. I mean, a long time, been around this plant. Never even tried to grow an autoflower. Just heard horror stories. Just sounded like a mess to me. So when this came about within hemp, there's actually some farming practices that I started thinking about that this autoflower could really help us out to get maybe 2 crops in per year. Maybe we could make it a little denser since it's a smaller plant, do 5 times as much per acre and still get the amount of good biomass or yield that you're looking for without all the stems and stalk and all the Charlie Brown Christmas trees. So there's just some different farm practices I think that lean towards the autoflower. The autoflower is not a photosynthesis plant. It's set on a clock rather than on the solstice. So it doesn't matter when you put it in, it's on a clock and it turns to flower and it buds and it's ready to harvest at its harvest date. Whenever we talk about harvest, we always have to keep in mind we have to sample. So that's a whole other topic, but that we'll get to. But the autoflower, I'm just excited about it because the daylight is not effective. So there's a global thing that could happen with autoflower, and that's something that we're working with other companies on. There's methods that we could use with existing tractors and equipment, implements that would benefit to the autoflower direct seed. One thing about autoflower that I understand is that it needs to be seeded in the bed that it wants to live in. You're not supposed to transplant an autoflower. I don't know this for fact because I've never tried it.
I think that's
but I
standard.
know a farmer that we're working kind of hand in hand with this experiment with the same seed.
Yeah.
And he did try putting it in and do a transplant. And I did direct seed in Stanberry. So between the two of us, we're going to share information and see what we think our plants did based on what we feed them.
Fantastic.
But a pretty good experiment, yeah.
And is that that's a lot to really take on for a company to be able to offer all those services. But you guys seem to really have a good hold on it. You've had experience. You've seen the good and the bad of it. You've been through years where you had poor
Experience helps. Experience helps. I'm telling you, everybody loses their mind come planting season and harvest season, and then we get back to the table and we figure out how the plan's working, and then we go back to losing our mind to transplanting, and then losing our mind to harvest. And I've done it 4 years permitted now, whether it's in Colorado or Missouri. And it's been the same every year, just different joint ventures.
Absolutely. You spoke of experience, and I do want to segue into Taproot Ag. Is your guys are growing. You're back here in Missouri, hometown and home state, and you're starting to really now, as most of us are, expanding through this time that we're going through the pandemic. You will be looking for helping hands.
Yes.
And a lot of this stems from experience. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that you have to have worked in Colorado, Oregon, some of the Seminole states that started with the plant, but it's helpful. It's helpful.
Yeah.
And you're wanting to employ those who are in state that are within the mileage that you have for your farms. And so speak about some of those entry level. I know there's some programs in schools where as an elective, students can actually work if they're interested in agriculture, agronomy, working with the soil, working all the way up to the level that you're at for management of some of the farms. Speak to the folks that are viewing this as to what you're looking for, really.
Yeah, so we've talked to MU. I've got actually some emails I have to respond to. MU's interested in helping us with the internship, or offering us some interns. So we're going to start working on those guidelines, how we can get some interns in. In the immediate, in this quarter, we're in the third quarter. In this quarter, we're going to need sampling. So that's the biggest step for hiring. So there's a statewide testing protocol that has to happen through MDA. It's MDA guidelines that we have to follow, and it's not MDA driven on Missouri Department of Agriculture. Missouri Department of Agriculture driven as far as them telling you when to harvest and telling you where you have to, test and where you have to test. It's individual companies that can do that, and so Taproot Ag has taken on the sampler program. As a certified sampler, and we're going to need people in the four corners of the state, basically, and down I-70. We're in the northwest corner, so we have a pretty good idea of what our travel radius is, but we'd like to be able to get all the way down to Cape Girardeau, Ozarks, Springfield, Joplin area, northeast corner. So there's a lot of area to cover, and just with the knowledge that we can bring to the farms while we're sampling, we just see it as a win-win. It's opportunity to maybe help some other farmers out in some of their practices, make sure they get good samples. I know in Colorado when we sampled, we got to pull our own sample, send it to our own labs, and the labs sent that on to the Department of Ag. There was a lot of leniency in there. There was a lot of gray area that people played around in. Here we don't want that. We want that very black and white line as to what's 0.3 and below, and who's collecting it, and who's keeping the data.
And there are some guidelines there, and what you're looking for. A certificate about accuracy is what you're kind of looking for.
Yeah. So we're setting up the parameters now for the testing program, and what we're going to need from each individual that's in the area that's going to be employed by us to pull the sample. So we'll provide the tools that are needed, and you can actually send us or get on the contact info for taprootagriculture.com. And get in there and inquire about jobs, and that'll send us some information on what you're looking for.
Absolutely, and if you feel that you have qualifications, experience, if you've got that hesitation, don't. Go ahead and send it in. It never hurts, and you never know what level of experience you have is going to really play into it.
Just start the conversation, because I've met some people that have some really great skills, and I did not see that coming. When I first saw them, I admit it, sometimes I have a book by its cover type of mentality, and especially in this industry, you're not really sure. People have to kind of prove their weight, and I've been proven wrong several times by just sitting and listening to somebody about what their experience is, not necessarily in this hemp industry or in farming. It could be in data analysis for a big company that they've left, and now they've got the core values that we need to actually pull data and hold the information for long term.
So skill set's not specifically thinking, I need to know everything about the plant. Maybe you have skill sets that you can leverage to really help out in areas that you need help out in.
Absolutely, benefit us, as a whole, as the community as well as Taproot building with the community.
And there's also that boots on the ground, hands in the dirt positions that you're going to have available. How long into this growth season are you right now? When did you start plants that you're working with, and where are you now, and what's happening in the next, say, 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's fairly early right now. Right now, I take it as the girls are on vacation. You know, we stressed them really hard. We grew up 10,000 plants to go out to the 3 different properties, and these are just test beds for certain genetics. But still, there's a lot of work building up to that point. Anybody that's grown indoor, outdoor, or propagated seeds, they know that's a little undertaking right there. Then once the girls get transplanted, it's kind of like a day in the sun. Just leave them alone, let them get through their transplant shock. So we're kind of in that time right now. I usually give them a week to 2 weeks to let them do their thing, and depending on what the rain schedule is. But here in probably 2 weeks to a month, we're going to start looking at labor. There's a lot of field maintenance that has to happen. Some of the JVs that we have, they have their own families that are taking care of their own properties. But like Weston, for example, that's a joint venture where two of us are working on. So my portion, having my help to help out would be great, or to move over to the other JVs and help out those other families. And then on the indoor, that's going to start up shortly after we harvest, and that'll be a full year gig. We need staff for indoor to work the indoor grows. I'm going to need a lead operator at some point to pull me off the field and out of the buildings. So we're growing quickly, and
that's amazing.
Are coming.
That's great opportunities.
Yeah.
That is here live. You're reaching out to the viewing audience,
exciting.
to others. If you have any of your family members, friends, acquaintances that you know that are looking for employment and wanting to work with this plant and wanting to work in the industry, it's definitely a great opportunity. We're going to go to a question that we have. What resources are available to farmers interested in moving towards growing hemp? And that could be from the level of they're already growing to we've got land that's been sitting, and now we're interested in putting our toes in the water and seeing what's available. What can you kind of speak of?
As far as the resources, there are websites out there. Well, there's plenty of YouTube. You can be an overnight grower if you jump into YouTube. Just type in growing hemp, and boom, you're flooded with information. But actually getting the correct information for where you're wanting, again, goes back to begin with the end in mind. Do you even know what you want to grow for? And if you don't, then you just need to get into Hemp 101, kind of like this. But move towards hemp history, knowledge of the plant, kind of diagnose a little bit of what products are used by what plant, and then you can get into more specific core areas. But for farming itself, I would say look into, there's organizations that are within this state as well as other states. Get involved in the networking within that state. That's the best resource, I think, is the networking within our organization or community.
And of course, I always advocate for the consulting time that you would spend. You may, again, with an organization like yours, and with Heidi and the Canna Care team, they're consultants. You want to reach out to those professionals. They may have entry-level packages. Spend 4 hours with me on the phone. I'm gonna give you a wealth of knowledge.
I was leading up to that. But that's it. Is if I get involved, when I get involved, typically it's after I've already asked a questionnaire. I want to make sure that the person knows first what their asset is towards this commodity, and then secondly where their view is of where they're headed within the hemp game, as I call it.
Yeah.
Are you going to stay here? Are you just, I want to dabble my feet for a year and see if it works?
Yeah. How many acres do you have available? What are you going to?
So then I have a little questionnaire. I'll send them a questionnaire out, and they'll fill out the questionnaire, and it'll talk about how many acres, water source, staffing, equipment that you have on site. And once we get through all that, then it's time for a phone call. And typically I'll give an hour first free, and we'll talk for an hour and just kind of get to know each other based off the questions of the email. And then that'll move it forward on whether or not we engage in employment.
Great. And it also, again, consultants are a great way to be able to understand a lot of information, a wealth of a tome of information.
It saves you all those searches, all those clicks on YouTube, and like I said, I don't want to sell myself out, but it's easy enough for people to find their own information.
Yeah.
I will just save you at least a year getting up to speed to get people ready to go to market.
And then as you expand upon that, then if everything works and it qualifies, maybe you don't have a water source that really is adequate, or maybe your ground from the agronomy standpoint just isn't, you're hitting clay too early. The nutrients of the soil, the profile of the soil, things like that, just little steps going. Then as you continue in that, you'll be able to go out to farms and really look with other growers to their staff and what's going on, so that they can see what's really involved. Spend a day at the zoo. No, spend a day at the hemp farm and really go out there and see what's involved.
Soil report is the very first thing I ask for. Yeah,
so good.
Soil report, have to have it.
Yep. And if an agronomy standpoint, that tells you a whole lot and can eliminate. So any one of these things can eliminate you as you go down the path. One of the other testing component of this, and I know that you're working with hemp, it's your background with cannabis. As we start to go down the path, like for testing, people are currently using like a Purple Pro that uses a light source to be able to then give an overall percentage of a cannabinoid that's in the plant. Great resource, great tool. Something that Extracts is putting together with gas chromatography, being able to have samples to come in and test it, so that you can look at what the plant's doing, how the profile of the plant is. As you start getting closer to that end grow time, you're going to stress the plant, so THC is going to pop. That's something as a service that we'll offer, to be able to have you bring in plants from all your different locations, run those tests for an extremely reasonable fee, so you can get the plant profile back, know what you're doing in terms of how the plant's coming along.
And that's an important factor on the sampling or growing the plant. I call that our insurance. We don't have the insurance to protect us from the 0.3%. So the only way to buy your insurance is to buy your sampling. And so not to pitch us to pull your sample, but just as a farmer to cover your tail, to make sure that you can harvest and to know what that plant's doing on a scientific level. You want to chart as much as you possibly can on your grow. And any farmer will do that. But you want to get detailed on this plant and different cultivars that you grow. Any marijuana farmer or grower will tell you they chart what they grow, how they grow it, methods that are used, or at least most of them I know do. And so by collecting all that data, that helps you. The only data we can't collect is the sample of the THC. So typically a month after we go in, when we start flowering, a month or so, somewhere in there, 6 weeks, I'll send off for a sample.
Yeah.
Now we get a baseline, but we got to find that bell curve. There's a bell curve to the THC and the CBD rise, and if we don't know where that bell curve is, we have no clue when it's time to harvest.
And that's the synergy of it. So that's something that we were completely able to test for, capable to do. That gives you results back lightning fast, so that you can make decisions which you need to. Waiting for that time to come back, you're spending days, almost sometimes up to a week, depending on how busy labs are. You need information quickly so that you can make decisions for what those plants are going to do.
Right. And that final test, if it's the final test, needs to be something from a lab,
Correct.
That's got metals and everything.
Yes.
Then that's a whole different process.
Absolutely.
But just to know that THC baseline and the bell curve, I think is super important for growing indoor or outdoor.
Something that we can do for residual solvents as well, mold, things of that nature. All things that are extremely important. I want to remind all of our viewers that if you have questions, if you have any statements that you'd like to make about anything in the prior segment of our show coming up as we continue through, please go ahead. Send those questions, those statements in, and we'll get to them as fast as we can. We are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, stick with us. We definitely have some more to the show to get to. We've got some great information coming up, and for now, commercial break. Stay with us.
That's right. Stay here. So this is James. We're going to lead out. We've got a update from Christina at the Canna Convicts Project, and here is her video for this week, and then we'll be back.
Hi guys, it's Christina here with the Canna Convict Project. I am sitting here with Jeff and Chris Mazansky. They have decided to join us for our weekly updates. We hope you're enjoying the show. Jeff Mazansky is a survivor of the war on drugs. He served 22 years of a life without parole sentence. He was granted clemency in 2015. And now he's able to be out here and advocate for all of those who are still incarcerated with us. We are blessed to have them on our board. Their insight is invaluable. I'm going to go ahead and allow them to have a couple words with you guys. I'll pass it off to you, Jeff.
Thank you. Hello, how you all doing? It's really fantastic to be out here. But I wouldn't have the chance to be out here, not through my choice, but through the laws that we had in effect at the time. Fortunately, now the laws have been changed. We fought hard to get it done. But the fight's not over, it's just begun. We still got other friends, other brothers, other sisters that are where? In prison, in jails, all over Missouri and the country. And the only way we're going to take care of that is to get together, work together, and let everybody in power know that they got to get it straight and let them all out, because they shouldn't be in prison. They should be out here enjoying life with the rest of us. So it's fantastic that you're fighting for the cause. You know, I'm with you 100% on it, and we need to keep it up. And then we have something coming up in Kansas City with the mayor. It's supposed to be decriminalizing it completely. That's fantastic. It needs to happen across the state, but it's a start. And how about some of us people getting together and maybe taking the rules to some of these police stations and maybe trying to educate them on what they're supposed to do when they stop somebody with a card, or somebody that has a card, because there's still way too many of us being locked up for things that we're not supposed to be locked up for. It's legal here in Missouri now, and it's time they get the message. And then we got a bunch of lawyers that could really turn around and use the business of learning the laws so that you can defend the people that are being locked up. And I know you all, that you're smart enough to take that and do something with it. Please do, because it's wrong for people to be locked up or even put in jail for a little while. It's no good. You would be surprised at some of the people you meet while you're in there. And it's not a place for nonviolent people to end up. And most people that are using cannabis are nonviolent. So we've got a choice. We can put them in jail the way they're going now, still yet, and change them from nonviolent to violent. And when they get out, they'll live next door to you. Somebody will. Eventually, we got to change. Only you people can get together and do it. Don't forget our brothers and sisters, because we have to help them get out. They belong here with us. Thank you.
We have to talk to our city officials, and we also have to talk to our sheriffs and our police and our start educating from us to them, as well as changing the laws to stop people from going.
Oh, yes.
We need a lot of education, and a lot of people can do it just by stepping up and going to your local police station and saying, hey, do you know the laws on, have you read in Amendment 2, have you done this or that and the other? Because that could potentially stop somebody from going to jail just in itself.
It sure could.
So,
It sure could.
yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize is, you go to jail or in prison, that happens in seconds, it seems like, minutes. It don't take no time at all to put you in there, but try to get out.
Mm-hmm.
No matter whether you're right and you have everything in order and it should happen, it seems like it drags on for years and years. And we can't afford to let our people stay in there that long. They've got to come out now.
Absolutely. Nonviolent cannabis offenses are what this organization is advocating for. We have garnered support throughout the entire state with attorneys, advocates, people who have been personally affected by the war on drugs. So we just need to continue to fight together. Please remember to reach out to us if you know of anyone who is currently incarcerated or a patient who is facing a cannabis prosecution. We are here to support everybody, nonviolent cannabis offenses. We are so blessed to have you two on our board. you were the powerhouse behind the force of getting your father free, and it took you just showing up and raising your hand and making the community aware that your father was even affected. And now you're here with us, and we are so grateful and so blessed to have you.
Times are changing. It's not fast enough.
It's not happening fast enough. BOP and DOC don't care about you. You need someone on the outside who will advocate for you, and that's exactly what we're here to do.
It takes, money to do all the things that you do too. So these people that are out there that, if they can't do anything else, and they think it don't affect them, remember they got brothers and sisters, daughters, sons, fathers, mothers, even grandparents. Everybody usually indulges a little bit here and there, but even if you don't know anybody or don't think you know anybody that does, somebody you know is, and they could be hurt if you don't step up and help. You can give a few dollars here, a few dollars there. County Convict.
It's a good place to put your money.
Great place to put your money because it's helping our brothers and sisters. That's something we need.
And all you people in the industry, don't forget these people because they're the ones that are helping get the original
Exactly.
people that did it beforehand out. The people that fought this fight before it even become a fight. So
If it wasn't for a lot of them, this wouldn't be here now. So,
Well,
it's great.
thank you guys for all that you have done for the community. Your fight has been long before we existed, and it will continue on for years to come in the future.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully.
that's right.
Hopefully not. We've got other fires to put out. Once we get all of the POWs out, there's other avenues that we still need to work on to get the
Education,
laws
yes.
right and
But-
the practices right.
It takes all the people.
Yes,
And
it
guess
does.
what? We all got to register to vote to do it. I'm registered. And I'm going to use my vote. If everybody does, we can get things changed. And that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to fix the system from within. We're going to have to go to these meetings and ask questions and find out where they stand. We need to know that. We need to get them on record. And when they don't do what we, the people, want them to do, guess what? Poke their asses out and get somebody else in there. It's the only way we're going to get anything done within the system, the right way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for coming on for our weekly update. We will be back next week with more of what is going on in our world. Again, thank you to everyone else who's out there fighting this fight. Continue doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work. We love you. We support you. And enjoy the rest of the show. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Have you recently been injured in a car accident or workplace-related incident? Well, I'm not here for that. Are you a cannabis business, home grower, or patient caregiver needing legal advice? Well, now we're talking. Make sure to tune into our live show with the Evolution Magazine on Thursday, July 30th to get all your legal questions answered on our live streaming show sponsored by Missouri's first Cannabis Industry Association, MCIA, and yours truly, Mark Parchini at Parchini Law.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Home Grow Series. This is Hemp 101. Be sure, if you are interested, as I'm sure anybody might be, if you want $50 gift cards to Happy Rock Farms, please tag a friend with the word GROW. You will both be entered, you and the person that you tag, to win one of two $50 gift cards to Happy Rock Farms here in Kansas City. Also, if you have a friend who is in need of a certification, be sure to tag them with the word cert or certification, and maybe they'll have a chance of winning a free certification from Mo Green Card. So I'm going to send it back over to John and Tim. We're going to continue this conversation about hemp. So yeah, there we go. On you guys.
Great, James, thanks again. Thanks everybody for hanging in there with us, all you viewers. We are at the end, coming near the end of our program here. We got a few more things to talk about. Once again, you can watch the replay of this on the Evolution Magazine's Facebook and YouTube channel. YouTube was just recently launched. Great stuff with Mayor Quentin Lucas. What a great evening we've had with that. We're going to continue the conversation. And before we get back into some of the employment opportunities, some of the differences for CBG and CBG that was put into the ground this year, and interesting numbers on that. It's a new cannabinoid that's really come along that people are planting for. So we didn't have that prior. And then some of the different projects that you have going on with indoor grow that you spoke of. I want to touch on the history because I love the history of hemp. I like reading through it. It really is a bit of reefer madness is what it kind of boils down to. In the 1930s, Harry Anslinger, the head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, really turned a battle against marijuana into a real war. Some believe he was motivated by less of safety concerns and more that it had applications that could threaten other industry. As we move through then propaganda films in 1936, reefer madness, the overseeing of the Marijuana Tax Act in 37 that really crushed this plant for what was going on with it. Hemp was such a prominent crop in the United States until 37 when that tax came through. That's what brings some of the historical part of what Missouri had, right? Little Dixie is 13 to 17 county region in Missouri found along the Missouri River, settled primarily by migrants, the hemp and tobacco districts of Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee. So again, disparaging part of this message that was sent out that you're going to be a part of this bad element, which ultimately we're talking about growers. We're talking about farmers. That major cash crop of the hemp in Lafayette County, locals went so far to declare hemp as king and dedicate all production of it while foregoing necessary food production, which is an amazing step. And so as it started to continue along and watch this war on industrial hemp, war on cannabis, it's now going away. And we're watching now as these legislation, the laws, the ordinances are getting passed overwhelmingly. We are in 33 plus states for medical. We've got about 12 to 15 that are rec. And really, I believe that once we move past 40, 45 in medical, if we can get 25 states for rec, I really believe that they'll end prohibition on it and we can go landslide stateswide. Let's get back to some of the employment opportunities that you were talking about. You know, there are a lot of restrictions with cannabis in the employment. Right now, you're seeing a lot of advertisement, a lot of the medical marijuana license companies that have been awarded. They're reaching out for employment. They have a very strict employment standards that they go through, and you can get disqualified for some of those things. Not so much in the industrial hemp. Can you speak about that?
So unlike the cannabis industry, medical cannabis industry, in hemp we're not restricted to hiring with a felony conviction as far as labor staff and positions that
avenues, equal opportunity employer. We're not going to restrict on that.
Talk a little bit about the indoor part of your grow. So outdoor, everybody knows there's a season. Yep. But indoor, are you planning on growing year-round? Indoor? Yep. Amazing.
Year-round.
So talk a little bit more about that.
So we have one seed propagation warehouse we talked about in Weston. That just that one building, that one warehouse only runs for a few months to get everything ready for the outdoor. But after that, everything switches right back over to the indoor production. I should say after that because it's continually running. We're continually harvesting. We have a build out going on in Liberty at the moment. We have one in Camden Point that's in progress. We have one in Edgerton that's in progress.
Oh, wow.
So we have a couple of them, and the one in Liberty's kind of got the head start on everybody.
Let's take a pause for one moment, John. As things come on and up, are we still good and live here? Okay, great. Just making sure the sound was all right. Sorry to derail.
No
Edgerton.
Problem. Yes.
Where else?
Edgerton, Camden Point, and Liberty are the three main right now. Eventually, we'll get back on track for Weston and finish that one out. We have 6,000 square feet, and we're only using a portion of it.
That's great. So if you live in those areas, if you're a resident or you're within driving
distance, there's constant work, whether it's through the harvest of hand trimming. We're not going to do a mechanical trimmer right away. We're going to hand trim all of our flower.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so encouraging for those who are out there.
I think it makes a difference on the sellable market. I just think it makes a difference.
That's great news. I can't express how important that is. If you have a skill set in trimming, it really is an art form.
It is.
It really is. You're wanting to present that bud,
and
that
it's a
flower.
trainable art form. It's something people have or they don't have. They can either sit and knit for hours and stare at the needles. They can sit and trim bud and be proud of the bud they put out, or they can focus and get it done by the hour and just bang out pounds, really fast.
A great meditation.
Great slow down time because all you're going to do is what's in the bucket next to you till the bucket's empty. There's plenty of work on the trim side.
It's amazing.
Packaging. There's going to be a lot of need for different parts.
Mm-hmm. The big change that's been that we've seen specifically really in this year is CBD and CBG.
Mm-hmm.
So CBD has been grown consistently.
Been around for a minute.
And now the
kind
cannabinoid.
of old now. CBD. Who's growing CBD anymore?
The new kid on the block,
right,
CBG. So tell us a little bit about the number of farms that you have, the number of plants in the ground, and what the numbers look like. How much did you go into ground with? Is it 50-50? Is it 80% CBD, 20% CBG? Tell us.
And the CBG is I don't want to say that this is the gambling year, but this is really the first year that a lot of people are pushing out a lot of CBG genetics. So until we see the stability of that genetic, I'm even reluctant to push out CBG, even though I know I could grow it. I want to know more information on those strains. And as we look into a breeding program, how we can crossbreed some of the local landrace to CBG strains and other known strains that will work. CBG is the new kid on the block. And what I tell everybody getting into this market is constantly be looking around the corner. Who's the new kid on the block? There's going to be a pivot in this industry. I've seen it for 4 years consistent. Every year there's a pivot. There's something that's changing in this industry, which is exciting.
Yes.
It keeps it new, keeps it not boring. But CBG genetics are not as strong, so I'm personally only growing it indoor this year.
Okay. So none of your outdoor...
None of my outdoor have CBG.
Okay.
The original approach, and people probably heard me talk about it, was I was going to blow out our fields with CBG. I was really excited about it. We had a lock-in with Ventura Seed Company. We run on some of their genetics indoor, and just the timing with harvesting that seed and having it ready for market just kind of pulled us back a little bit from it. It's like, let's not rush to the race. I'm not one to hurry up and push things out if it's not working. I like to do small tests and then blow up larger. That's why our fields are no bigger than 2.4. I don't believe in running straight out at 20 plus acres. It just doesn't make sense to me.
And again, it's not something that the plant changes in its physical appearance.
No,
it's the same plant.
It looks exactly the same. It'll smell, it'll have its terpene profile. It's just the cannabinoid. It's just the difference in the, as I call it, the pharmaceutical compound, the compound that we want to push into these products.
So your other side of that you spoke of a little bit is the equipment that you have now. Right now, is a lot of that equipment spoken for, or what are people going to be looking for in the stage that we're at in the grow process? Is it buckers, trimmers? What else do you have that's available for
people? So buying
people?
equipment in the spring to go into the ground, typically you have to buy that after harvest. A lot of times people will sell off their last year equipment, or the manufacturers they start ramping up for next spring, and by the time next spring comes and you're ready to start planting, those planters are all spoken for. You can't buy one brand new. You'll have to find it used. Do
you rent that
so
equipment?
that equipment we can source for you. There's a number of ways to put in based off what your method is. Whether you're doing a no-till, whether you're literally not even hardly breaking the ground, just drilling holes and just filling the pockets of the holes. We have the tobacco transplanters we talked about, have access to those to lease those out. Water wheel transplanters if you're in mulched raised layer beds with drip systems, drip layers and mulch layers, all that equipment to prep the field, and not to mention the tractors and the big equipment to just turn it to begin with.
Amazing. And you have or can source a lot of that equipment.
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yep.
We have covered a lot of information, and we have had multiple segments. It's been a very exciting night. John, is there anything else that you really want to put your finger on that we haven't spoke about or that you want to share with our viewers?
We didn't get to that. Is that a question we should have?
Oh, we do have questions. Some of the questions, great. Do you need a hemp license to grow your own small garden at home? If so, how much does that cost?
Yes, you do. And it cannot be in your home. It has to be outside of your home. My interpretation is that the DHSS and the Missouri Department of Ag want to make sure they know where their product is. So DHSS says you can have it indoor or outdoor, locked and covered, or whatever those requirements are that the medical guys know. On the outdoor, we don't have to have it covered, locked, gated, none of that stuff. It can be completely open. But you do have to have a license. You have to go through the permitting process through the Department of Ag. It's $750 for the first year. It's good for 3 years, but you have to renew it every year again for another $750 through those 3 years. And it's good for the parcel of the property that you permit. So anywhere within that parcel, again, if it's a small garden on a property, say you've got 3 acres and you want to just make a half an acre a test bed and eventually go larger, then you can do the entire 3 acres as your permit for your deeded property. And that'll give you some expansion room within the next renewal period.
And cost associated with somebody that's starting up with that? What's their budget they need to be prepared for?
Budget will depend on the equipment they have available. Hiring us to come in, that'll cut into your budget a little bit, but you won't have to spend the money on the overhead of buying the equipment to put it in. But you're looking at roughly, I've heard anywhere from $3 to $6 on clones if you want to put clones in. This is a good example of a clone root, by the way. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Clones being plants that are...
Clones are cuts, propagules. They're cuts from the mother plant. And so that's an identical replica with a little bit of a DNA degrade of the plant to go into the field. And we can produce a lot of clones. And those typically will run 2,000 plants per acre is how we typically budget that. We like to sell seedlings, seed starts. This year we did all seed starts.
Oh, great.
And that has a different root structure, a different requirement in the field as far as tilling and that kind of thing. These plants, they grow wide in root base. So when you're talking about weed suppression, you need to have some way to control your weeds that you don't want. If you put in a cover crop, that helps. But if you're doing weed suppression with a tiller or something like that, there's a good chance you could hit these roots because they do go wide rather than straight down. But there is a lot of equipment involved. Cost, though, again, back to, let's say low number, $3 a plant, $2,000 per. So that's your number getting in. Your amendments could be about $1,000 to $2,000 for the season for the acre. Wow. Labor, hopefully you keep everything low and home. Don't have to spend any money on labor. You got water source. And then any of your finish time, your drying, your
adds
harvesting.
up a little bit, but
it'll add up.
But experience counts, and the consulting will be great.
Yeah, if you catch everything just right, I don't want to discourage anybody from doing it. It is easy enough for a lot of people to do, but to do it right, there's a lot of details, and anybody that's grown can tell you there's a lot of details to follow.
You can start small.
Yeah,
I know a
small.
lot of single, small family, 4 member families that make a go of it. They do an acre or half acre even just to
throw 2,000 plants out. I mean, first season we did a proof of concept. Maybe some of the pictures have come up of our first year in Parachute, and it was a proof of concept for the company for Elevated to build into this new brand, and just the proof of concept with the landowners. There was some question on how much was needed. Just park a camper, put one person in the camper, give a 4-wheeler and a feed tank, and watch what happens.
Off you go.
Off you go. 4 months later, you got plants, and they're coming back from extraction, and you can start counting your dollars.
Awesome. And part of that is going to be finding a processor,
Yep.
and that's where the relationships come in to play.
With experience.
Tolling is processing, where you're paying to have your plants processed, receiving oil back, or doing a split. which is where we're going to take the entire of the the hemp flower, we're going to process that, return part of the oil back, we're going to keep part of the oil, or then refinement, going into refining that crude into other products, distillates, isolates, water soluble, things of that nature. So we like to work with farmers, really communicate. If you're out there and you're farming hemp, really communicate with us, get started now. Contracts are always good to get into, and looking forward to what farmers are yielding this year. I don't think we have any other questions before we sign off here. Did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on?
That was just about it. I mean, we're always looking for JV joint ventures with people that want to start up. So to break ground and get you moving, it's a good way to get in and get started. Very, very cheap startup costs. We just want to make sure that we went over the hiring possibilities again, and hit up taprootagriculture.com. Throw us a contact on that, and we'll get back to you on what's coming up. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. I post pictures all the time of what's going on in our indoor grow. Liberty's progressing pretty quickly. We're putting out some nice plants up there right now. All CBD until we get this first run, then we switch over to CBG. So yeah, we've got some good stuff coming. But basically, my quick summary was begin with the end in mind, know who your customer is or what market you're going to supply. If you need to work with a consultant to help find that outsourcing, that's a good way to do it. Research whether you're going seed, clone, or starters. Have you thought about your transportation to the field? Have you thought about fertigation and water methods? How you're going to harvest and dry the process. I mean, all these are things that you need to think about, including the herbicide and pesticide. What methods you're going to use from start to finish. It's a lot to take in on your first year, so we're here to help.
Yeah, looks to Taproot Ag for that help. And once again, we're going to be really interested to watch as the progression of the year starts to unfold as you get to harvest. We're going to check back in, of course, with these guys. John Bolsenga,
absolutely.
Taproot Ag, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us that information. And again, we are so thrilled for Mayor Lucas. What an amazing evening. Join us next week as we'll try to top this week's show by bringing in Missouri Governor live on the show. Hey, hopefully he will say yes, like Mayor Lucas, showing, putting his good foot forward. But either way, we will be live at the Grow Room with Ryan Van Horn and guest Russell Colby with flower maintenance. And loads more of content to support Missouri's cannabis growth physically, politically, and lovingly. I, again, want to give congratulations to Mayor Lucas and your staff, your team that you work with, everyone that made that possible. We know you were tip of the spear on this one, and we are so grateful for you taking that step forward, really putting your foot down and making a huge difference in people's lives in this state, in this city. We celebrate you on the vote for your ordinance. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that with us. We encourage the governor to come on the show and others who really want to be a part of the show. We'd love to talk to you. We're friendly, good people. For the Evolution Magazine, Happy Rock, Extracts, Taproot Ag, I'm Tim Lawrence. This is John Bolsenga. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Grow series.
Ladies and
thank
gentlemen,
you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody, for staying with us tonight. James from KC Weedblog, we're signing off now. Be sure to check out next week's show that's going to be at the Grow Room, just down the street here on Main Street in Kansas City. Do we have a topic for that? Ryan Van Horn, Russell Colby. Flower maintenance. That's a good one. Drying and curing, making sure your product gets ready. So thank you again, John and Tim, for taking us through.
Mayor Lucas!
Thank you.
Mayor Lucas!
Thank you, Jason and Chris from Happy Rock Farms for always letting us do this. Thanks for Clay for putting this together. Chris Smith out there doing the photos. You'll see some of that later today. It's been a great day. Cat King doing all the hard camera lifting.
And this guy right here.
Don't worry about me.
Don't
worry.
Hey,
James. The mayor wanted to. He came on 30 minutes early, so we got a little rushed at the start. We appreciate you bearing with us through all the technical difficulties. There's a lot of moving parts to this, so stuff happens. But we appreciate everybody that comes along and is here to learn and grow. So with that, have a good night, everybody. Stay safe. I'm out.
Thanks so much.
done, guy.